Since the introduction of the Colt Commando and XM177 series carbines, the U.S. military has had a need for a compact version of the M16, the longest-serving small arm in U.S. history. Even though never officially adopted, these carbines saw extensive use in every theater of operations the U.S. and her allies were in. In 1985, U.S. government contract DIA ATWA 185C192 was awarded to Colt for the development of the XM4 carbine, the first general-purpose carbine since World War II. The contract had very specific wording in regards to parts commonality with the newly adopted M16A2 rifle. Particular effort was made to keep as high of a number of parts compatible with the M16A2 as possible. As first envisioned, the XM4 was to be used for troops who could not carry a rifle, but needed more firepower than a handgun. It was to fill the same role as that of the M1 carbine. Parts commonality, as defined by DIA ATWA 185C192, specifically stated in the requirements was that the carbine would utilize the newly adopted M855 ball cartridge as well as be functional with existing M193 ball ammunition. The barrel will have the same 1 turn and 7 inches rifling twist as the M16A2 and be 14.5 inches in length. The barrel must be made to accept the current miles shooting simulation equipment as well as utilize the M16A2 compensator. The carbine must have the 3-round burst limiter of the M16A2. The polymer furniture must be made of the same high-impact material as the stock pistol grip and handguards of the M16A2. The upper and lower receivers are to be the same as the M16A2 amongst many others. The parts commonality requirement was troublesome to Colt engineers, but they understood the government's position. With over 7 million M16 family of weapons in service at the time, they did not want to make any dramatic changes to an already proven design. Owing to the different operating characteristics of the carbine, Colt felt there should be some changes. Due to the gas port being so much closer to the bolt, higher pressures existed in effect, significantly increasing the cyclic rate of fire. This caused issues with bolts breaking, bolt carrier bounce, failures to extract as well as feed. However, the government was very much stuck on interchangeability over durability. Reliability. Colt engineers felt that a redesign of the bolt and barrel extension would significantly enhance the carbine's performance, but this would have been a major violation of the interchangeability requirement. The true heart and soul of the M4 carbine is the MIL STD 1913 flat top upper receiver. The Colt, a RMS, Inc. designed flat top upper receiver in dovetail is the modularity of the carbine. This enabled the use of an entire new generation of advanced optics including reflex sights, thermal sights, optical sights as well as night vision. The dovetail enabled optics to be mounted at a comfortable eye level rather than the awkward mounting of an optic on top of the carrying handle of the standard A1 and A2 sights. The adoption of the M4 and M4A1 carbines. On August 15, 1994, the U.S. military adopted the M4 and M4A1 carbines. The only difference between the two is the M4 has a burst setting and the M4A1 has an auto setting. The vast majority of M4A1 carbines would be manufactured for the United States Special Operations Command. The military specifications were drafted for the carbines, including the inspections to be performed by Colt personnel as well as the on-site government inspector. The specifications state the endurance tests and allowable malfunctions per lot. The MIL specs have also written the processes of proof testing and magnetic particle inspecting of all barrels and bolts. The finalized M4 carbine. The M4 carbine is a lightweight, gas-operated, air-cooled carbine capable of semi-automatic and burst fire. Nearly 25% of the components of the M4 are not interchangeable with the M16A2, M16A3 and M16A4 rifles. With the telescopic stock fully extended, the carbine is 33 inches long and with the stock closed, 29.8 inches. The carbine uses the direct gas or gas impingement system utilizing an exhaust pipe that goes from the front sight assembly back to the bolt carrier. The expansion chamber is located in the rear of the bolt carrier between the rear of the bolt and the front of the inside of the carrier. This creates a hammer-like blow that drives the carrier rearward, unlocking the bolt, extracting and ejecting the fired cartridge case. The spring-loaded buffer is compressed on its rearward motion and then drives the bolt carrier group forward, stripping a cartridge off the top of the magazine, feeding, chambering, and finally locking the bolt into the barrel extension. The benefit of this system is lightweight and accuracy. The barrel does not have some heavy piston attached to it, preventing the natural barrel harmonics affecting accuracy. The drawback is that it directs fouling into the bolt carrier. This requires more frequent maintenance with extended use and is cleaned with normal cleaning solvent and brushes. Millions of rounds have been fired through the XM4 and M4 carbines in test conditions, and this carbine is the preferred weapon by U.S. forces. SOCOM taking the M4 to the limits and beyond. As previously stated, the M4 was to be a lightweight carbine that was to be used by people who could not carry a rifle, but needed more firepower than a pistol. However, once the M4A1 got into circulation within the special operations community, the compactness, modularity, ease of operation and performance was immediately seen, and they adopted the M4A1 as their main weapon. They would admittedly push the carbine well beyond its design intent. SOCOM began reporting durability issues with their M4A1 carbines, including blown barrels, broken bolts, failures to extract, and overheating, none of which the regular Army units nor anyone else in the U.S. military were experiencing. Investigations immediately began by Rock Island Arsenal to determine if these problems were in fact problems with the design or manufacturing process of the carbine, or if the carbine was being used beyond its design intent. At this point, Colt was not able to make any changes to the firearm without this determination. The M4A1 is procured by the U.S. Army and subjected to the TDP. Any changes or improvements requirements would have to be made by the U.S. Army, not SOCOM. This is the major difference between SOCOM employing a standard issue weapon versus them procuring their own weapon. By procuring their own weapon, they are the customer and can make changes as they see fit. This is the case of the SCAR, but not with the M4A1. Many SOCOM groups have problems with maintenance of the weapons, in particular replacing worn-out components. One SEAL team said they did not keep track of malfunctions during missions to report back to an armor to have the weapons fixed. Additionally, the training weapons that these operators use are the same ones they take into combat. The barrels and bolts have an unknown number of rounds through them. SOCOM operators fire an average of 24,000 rounds per year in training alone. Most all of the criticisms regarding this weapon system have come from a small element within the SOCOM community. This weapon system has been in use with the British Special Forces for quite some time. The SAS use the SFW manufactured by DeMaco. These specialized carbines beat out Heckler and Koch G36 and the SIG 500 series rifles and have seen action in both Afghanistan and Iraq. Unconfirmed reports say that the British Special Forces spent more money on the test and evaluation of these weapons than they did on the weapons they procured when the award was given to DeMaco. In addition, DeMaco has been asked to quote on weapons to replace the perfected L85A2. The M4 is the preferred weapon for American forces overseas, and the biggest problem they have with it is that there are simply not enough to go around. Clearly, SOCOM needed their own weapon that would be suited for their requirements, and that did not materialize until recently with the issuance of the SCAR developmental contract. Many people in the community speculate that the SCAR competition was conducted purely to keep the program executive officer soldier from forcing the XM8 on SOCOM. Further advancements at Colt. Colt has now split off into two companies. Colt Defense LLC is committed to military and law enforcement sales, and Colt's manufacturing company focus is the commercial market. Colt Defense LLC is dedicated to providing military small arms throughout the world to the United States military and allies, as they have done for nearly 170 years. Colt Defense has been diligently working on many military programs, such as the SCAR program, in which they submitted 3 entries. The SCAR program was, without a doubt, the most grueling firearms test ever conducted anywhere in the world. It was unwritten but clear that SOCOM wanted a piston-driven mechanism. Colt developed a rifle with a piston mechanism as well as 2 direct gas rifles. The contract was awarded to FN Herstal of Belgium. Colt's entries came in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. These are some of the most advanced military small arms in the world. Currently, Colt is working on a submission for the OICW and has plans to introduce a piston-operated law enforcement carbine in early 2006. In May of 2005, Colt purchased DeMaco from HeroX DevTech in Canada, now called Colt Canada. DeMaco has been a supplier of parts to Colt for several years due to DeMaco manufactured mil-spec components from the Colt TDP. With the acquisition of DeMaco, Colt will take advantage of their excellent research and development team as well as their state-of-the-art manufacturing facility. Now, what of the future? The XM8 is not new or advanced, but based off another stoner-designed weapon from the early 1960s, the AR-18. Another unanswered question is why the government is spending money on a foreign weapon development without even the rights to the design. This was an issue that Colt dealt with during the Vietnam War. The decision was made in 1968 to license the government the rights for the M16 divided by M16A1, so if need be there could be other suppliers in case of a national emergency to procure needed small arms to equip our soldiers. Will there be enough of advancement in technology to justify the change to a new weapon? It hardly makes sense since the same ammunition is used, so no difference in lethality or range. The US military's current weapon systems have been combat-proven in every theater in the world. The M16 divided by M4 families of weapons have long proven themselves the hard way on the battlefield.